Now on Denver 7 News at 7 a.m. on Local 3, remembering the 10 people killed at the Table Mesa King Soopers 1 year later, how people are coming together to honor the lives lost.
A boil water advisory is in place for a mountain town facing a water shortage right now. The factors causing businesses to shut down and the temporary solutions keeping Empire afloat.
Plus, President Biden is preparing to travel overseas as civilian attacks in Ukraine escalate. How a Denver family is helping the victims from thousands of miles away.
Thanks for joining us on this Monday morning. I'm Brian Sanders.
And I'm Nicole Brady. It's the first full day of spring, but of course, it's Colorado, so we're kicking it off with a Denver 7 Weather Action Day.
Let's see how it looks outside right now as we take a look at the Colorado Capitol building. It looks clear from this vantage point, but already we've started to see some flakes flying, and some of it starting to stick to the roads in the foothills.
Yeah, our team is keeping track on the changing conditions. Veronica Acosta seeing those flakes, and Jason Luber keeping an eye on the roads. First, let's get to Lisa Hidalgo timing out the storm.
And right now we're looking at, on the west side of town and up in through the foothills, some of that snow starting to come down, some areas of pretty dense fog and some wet roads. We're going to see this from west to east here through this morning. But if you're up and a little closer to spots like Broomfield and Genesee and up into the foothills, you're going to see some of that snowfall right now. And at this point here in town, things have been pretty quiet. Wet roads expected here and also south as you get closer to Pueblo, down in through Trinidad. We're going to pick up a bit more rain and snow there, and in through the Sangre de Cristo, some heavier snow. Cloudy skies in Denver right now. We saw all of the melting, though, this weekend from the snow last week, and now we're going to add on potentially another 1 to 2 inches here today and tomorrow. So 30s this morning. We're going to be in the mid to upper 30s this afternoon. Really not much of a warm up in store, and this is going to be just the first round. We'll see light snow today, clearing skies tonight, and then more snow tomorrow afternoon. I'll show you the timing of all of that here on our Super 7 Day coming up.
And we have these wet conditions out to the west side of town, like here on C470, as you can see from the camera right by 285. So 285 is going to be wet. Obviously, C470 is going to be wet. Not too slick for us yet, as temperatures are still a little bit warmer than freezing. So I'm not seeing any icing on the bridges yet. But you see all that splashback coming up. And then conversely, you take a look at the drive on I-70, and all you see is a lot of taillights heading from just after I-25 past the Coliseum, going through the lowered section. They did that lane shift, and it really has caused these delays, unfortunately, as you make your way over there. And you can see it here this morning on the map too. It's one of our longest commutes, 25 minutes just getting through there. 270 is also a little bit busier. That could be an option for you, but much better than average in most other areas. We still have this little water main break blocking part of ILIF on the westbound side, so you just run down to Mississippi to get around it. Alameda can also get you around it pretty easily. And the rest of the drive, actually the speeds don't look too bad. Out there to the west side of town, this is where Veronica Acosta is hanging out, right here at the area just after I-70 and Golden, right there at the Morrison exit. Looks not too bad for you right there, Veronica, as people are making their way. It looks okay.
Yeah, not too bad. It's gotten actually a little bit better than it was about an hour or so ago. Those flakes, of course, still coming down. They are smaller. What we were once seeing stick on the ground here in the parking lot seems like it's starting to melt. So a little bit slushier conditions. Take a look out at the roadway here. It's still wet, still damp. You can definitely see that. And again, what we once started seeing accumulating on the actual roadways there, typically it sits on the shoulders. Sometimes it accumulates on the road. It's now starting to melt just a bit. But if we move up slightly, what you can see now is that fog starting to move in and move down onto I-70, which you're seeing off in the distance there. Just something to watch out for as the morning goes on. Visibility going further into the mountains looks like it's deteriorating just a bit. So if you are heading that way, you might want to take notice of that as the morning and your commute go on. Guys, back to you.
All right. Thank you, Veronica. And as this storm continues, you can get 24/7 Colorado news and weather updates. Just download the free Denver 7 Plus app on your favorite streaming device.
Well, tomorrow marks a painful day for our Colorado community. It has been 1 year now since 10 lives were taken at a Boulder King Soopers store. So starting tonight, the Table Mesa location will be closed to the public until Wednesday morning in remembrance of those killed. Denver 7's Colette Bordelon joins us this morning from Boulder. And Colette, all King Soopers stores statewide will mark the day with a moment of silence.
Yeah, and that moment of silence is set for 2:30 in the afternoon, Brian. It's around the same time as the shooting started here at the Table Mesa King Soopers in Boulder. Now, it is a gloomy morning in Boulder. Snow just starting to fall. You can't even see the flat irons right now. And that pause, it's a chance to honor the lives lost in that shooting. But it's hard to believe it's been a year since March 22nd of 2021, when a gunman started shooting at people in the parking lot and then moved into the store. Boulder police officer Eric Talley was one of the victims and the first officer to respond to the scene during the shooting, saving lives as he gave his own for his community. Among the victims were 2 King Soopers employees and 7 others, ranging in age from 20 to 65. The president of King Soopers says closing the store is a way to give employees the space needed to continue navigating the healing process. The store in Boulder just reopened to the public a little more than a month ago after being redesigned. Inside is a mural done by a Boulder artist over the course of 3 months, who says the work was cathartic and hope it brings employees and customers some comfort.
Once I finish a painting and it's hanging and it's appreciated, it's no longer my painting, it's now appreciated and part of the community. So it's hopefully continues to gift the community for what it's meant.
Definitely a gift for this community. You can see that mural right behind me inside of the King Soopers, where people are just starting to come in for work today. There are plans for a Remembrance Tree Garden on the west side of the store. According to those who work with King Soopers, there would be a tree planted for each victim. The store will be closed starting at 11 tonight. It'll reopen at 6 in the morning on Wednesday. Live in Boulder, Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
Yeah, a lot to take in, and it will certainly be an emotional day. Thank you, Colette. Denver 7 will have team coverage of the Remembrance Day on air on our website, thedenverchannel.com, and on the Denver 7 Plus app. Meanwhile, people donated more than $6.5 million after the King Soopers shooting. Our partners at the Denver Post are taking a closer look at how that money was used a year later. Most of it is going to the families of the 10 victims. Donations went to 2 groups. The Colorado Healing Fund collected more than $4.7 million. It has distributed all but $570,000 to other nonprofits, including more than $3 million for the victims and their families. The Community Foundation collected more than $1.7 million, and it has distributed all of its money to other nonprofits, including $957,000 intended for the victims. Both groups also gave sizable donations to the Boulder Strong Resource Center, a nonprofit offering counseling and other mental health services.
The man who live streamed the Boulder King Soopers shooting as it was unfolding will face trial this summer. Dean Schiller faces obstruction charges. Over the course of 90 minutes, police say Schiller ignored about 60 different requests to leave the crime scene. Schiller claimed he was a journalist but refused to go to the media staging area. His trial is now set for August 2nd.
Now to the latest out of Ukraine. There were new explosions from overnight in the capital of Kyiv and a moment of brave defiance in the south as Ukrainian forces vowed to fight to the last man. ABC's Mona Kosar-Abdi has details.
Overnight, a city under siege, taking a stand. Leaders in Mariupol have rejected Russia's demand to surrender, defying the 4 a.m. deadline to turn the city over to Russian troops. As the invasion stretches into day 26, Russia is upping its attacks against non-military targets. In Kyiv, Ukrainian officials say this missile strike destroyed a shopping mall, killing at least 1 person. While back in Mariupol, local officials say an airstrike destroyed a school where hundreds of people had been sheltering.
We've seen deliberate targeting of cities and towns and civilians throughout in the last several weeks. I believe that he's taking these kinds of steps because his campaign is stalled.
This local park has been turned into a temporary cemetery as people bury their friends and neighbors. President Zelensky Sunday said he's willing to speak to Vladimir Putin about how to end this war.
I think that we have to use any format, any chance in order to have a possibility of negotiating, the possibility of talking to Putin. But if these attempts fail, that would mean that this is a third world war.
President Biden travels to Europe to meet with NATO leaders Thursday. From there, he'll go to Poland to discuss the growing humanitarian crisis. According to the UN, at least 10 million people have been forced out of their homes, a quarter of the population. And now, Ukrainian officials accuse Russia of forcibly deporting people.
To force people from Ukraine to go into Russia is absolutely unacceptable. It's unconscionable. And again, it's something we need to confirm. but I don't put it past the Russians.
One issue up for discussion when President Biden travels to Europe this week is Poland's proposal for a NATO peacekeeping force in Ukraine, an idea critics say could be dangerously provocative. Mona Kosar-Abdi, ABC News, New York.
A Denver family is showing support and offering a way for others to help people in Ukraine. They just launched a fundraiser that others in the community are joining on to. The McFarland family recently went to a store to buy a Ukrainian flag. At checkout, they were told it was the last one the store had. The family decided to start making their own flags out of wood pallets and sell them to help Ukrainian charities.
It's tough to see the kids and what they're going through. It's hard not to get emotional. I just think about my daughter. Sorry. And what would happen, if we were in that situation, getting her and my wife out of the country and me having to stay behind. It's tough to think about what that would be like.
The money raised will go to the International Rescue Committee to help Ukrainian refugees and to book rooms with Airbnb with no intent to stay there, but to get money directly to Ukrainians stuck in the war zone. The minimum donation for a flag is $25. We have a link on thedenverchannel.com. A deal for art lovers this morning, how you can get half off one of Denver's immersive art experiences.
Also, a mountain town is running out of water. The work today to help get a clean water source back.